going on the floor. Hello. It is so hot today, and I'm also sorry because you haven't seen my face in a while because I have been flopping on uploading videos, but here I am today to do my July wrap-up. We are going to talk about all the books I read in July, which was 7. I had some really good reads, I had some arcs, a lot of exciting books to introduce to you that you might not have heard of, so we're going to jump right in. But my name is Andrew. If you don't know me, you should subscribe, stick around, we have fun here, and let's just get into the books. First book that I read in July was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed Happy Place. It's about Wynne and Harriet, who were engaged, except they are now no longer engaged, but they're going to a summer house with their friends like they always used to do. They're friends from college, and they don't know that they have split up and are not engaged anymore. And so both of them are kind of thrown in and have to fake be engaged in this house with their best friends because they don't want to break it to them that they are not together. Having to keep up this ruse between Wynne and Harriet, even though there's a lot of like bad blood between them because they are both dealing with the breakup of the engagement in their own ways. Getting to watch that tension, great. 10 out of 10, love that for me. I feed and live off of the angst. But where the half star that I docked comes in is the side characters, the friends of Harriet. None of them were really appealing to me. None of them stuck out. I didn't really care about them that much. But I will say that the nostalgia factor of the book and the way that Emily Henry could convey how nostalgia feels through words, so good. I really admired that. And right from the beginning, I was pretty emotional with the kind of talk of nostalgia and how these people were friends in college and having their lives just be so different when they're adults and going and getting real jobs, and they all live in various parts of the country, and so this is like one last hurrah for them to come together. So it was kind of emotional for me, but overall I really did enjoy it, and that's why I gave it 4.5 stars. I also read The Boy You Always Wanted by Michelle Quach, which actually just came out yesterday on August 1st, so if you want to check it out, it is out now. I read it as an ARC that I received from the publisher and NICOLE. Thank you to both of them. But this one is about Francine and Ollie. Francine, her grandfather is dying, and one of his dying wishes is that he had a male heir in his family. And this is kind of like an old cultural custom that is in Francine's family, and that is why her grandfather is like that. And so she devises a plan to get this boy named Ollie that she used to kind of have a crush on, and now is just kind of around the family, close to her house, and could be the perfect person to pretend to be the male heir of her family when her grandfather passes. Through the book, I thought it was kind of going to be just them scheming to fool the grandfather into thinking this, and it was in the latter half of the book, but the first half is kind of just getting an introduction to Francine, and she's kind of like a really happy-go-lucky person, but she also is very performative and a people pleaser, and it was kind of heartbreaking to see how she puts herself out to the world even though she kind of puts everyone else first besides herself. And then we get Ollie's perspective as well, and he has kind of his own life things going on. Like, his father is very absent in his life. He has an older brother that is kind of the epitome of what his family wants their children to be like. And so in Ollie's eyes, he's kind of just like runner-up to a lot of things and a lot of people, and he doesn't really take himself so seriously because he's scared to try. So we have a boy that doesn't like to help people, and a girl that all she does is want to help people, and she needs his help. And so that is pretty much what the book's about. I ended up giving it 4 stars because I really love Michelle Quach. She has a way of writing these contemporary young adult fiction novels in a way that doesn't seem too juvenile. It's something that I think adults can even enjoy, and it has like a good message, it has good writing, it has good characters that are developed, and it has some emotional beats to the story. So overall, really loved, 4 stars, definitely recommend Michelle Quach, any of her books. I also read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I even did tab and underline because There were a lot of good quotes, but mostly really funny quotes. Ali Hazelwood is just so funny, and it really shone in this book. This is about two rival physicists named Jack and Elsie. Elsie is a pretty much like escort. Like, there's an app where she gets clients and she goes on dates with them, and she is like their fake girlfriend, and she gets paid to do it because she is a struggling physicist who is in a job that doesn't pay her enough and doesn't really afford her the time that she wants to do her research or the means to live. She has like a pretty shitty home situation with her roommate. And Jack comes in because he is the older brother of one of Elsie's clients, and he is also one of the people on the board that are going to be determining if Elsie gets this job that she wants that will pay her exponentially well and at a place, an institute that she really loves. As you can guess, there is a lot of issues with that dynamic, but overall this is a love story. It's Ali Hazelwood romance. It's gonna give, and it was so funny, it was so entertaining. It's definitely not my favorite Ali Hazelwood book. That goes to The Love Hypothesis. This was a close second. It is a 4-star read for me. I really enjoyed it, and Jack and Elsie do have my heart. And there was a cameo in this book with characters from The Love Hypothesis, and that was like the sweetest moment and the best surprise ever. I also managed to finish my reread of Iron Gold. This book like almost took me out and put me in a slump. I have never been the biggest fan of Iron Gold. I gave it 5 stars. I stand by it, but it's not my favorite Red Rising book, despite how many like places I have tabbed that I need to go back in and put tabs. But this is the continuation of Red Rising. The original trilogy continues with Iron Gold, and this is basically book 4. And it just goes into so much depth of new characters and the same old characters and where they are 10 years after we finish Morningstar, the original trio. I started this book, I think at the end of June, or maybe like July 4th or around there. I know because I got sick at the beginning of the month while I was on vacation, and it put me back a lot in my reading. And so that's why this one took me long. It's a pretty thick book, pretty dense on its own, throwing in me getting sick, and just it took me the whole month to finish this book, and I really couldn't move on with my life. But this book is so essential to keep going with the story, so I love it for that factor. Can't really tell you much about it because it's a lot of spoilers. You got to get through the original trilogy if you want to read this, but it is worth it, and I think I appreciated it a lot more this go around. And Red Rising is my baby, so you already know, go read Red Rising. A surprise book that I didn't think I was going to even read this month, had no idea, was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I read this book in 2 days. I'm not kidding. I read it so fast. Probably the fastest I've read a book this year. Haven't really been binging a lot. But Once Upon a Broken Heart, how do you even explain it? It's about Evangeline, Fox, and the Prince of Hearts. His name is Jax. Did I read about 2 different Jacks? I think I did. I don't know how to explain this book. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It definitely wasn't my favorite. I read this because there is so much hype about Jax and Evangeline, and I just didn't really see it, but I think a lot of the hype comes from book 2, and to read book 2 I had to read book 1. I think I will pick up the second book, but it's not like a cherished series. Like, I don't really love it that much. I didn't really connect, and I think it's just me and Stephanie Garber are not friends. We're not on the same page, and I've tried to read Caraval. I read book 1 and a little bit of book 2, and I just wasn't really feeling it. So I'm really surprised a lot of people love this one. It's just so whimsical, her writing and how the story flows into just one scene into the next, and the things that happen are just, I don't know. It's so whimsical and magical and fluffy, and not my favorite type of fantasy to read. But I don't want to hate on it too much. I'm glad I read it, and the best thing about this book is Jax and getting to see him pop up all the time. That's the best times in the story. It's the best lines and all that. So when I read book 2, it's going to be just for Jax. And I'm not a diehard for this book. 3.5 stars. But now I am in the Once Upon a Broken Heart gang. I am in the know, and once I read book 2, I will be the judge of if this series is really like the best thing ever. Okay, and the final book I read was Night of the Witch by Sarah Rosh and Beth Revis. This was an arc. It's not coming out until, I think, let me see. It's coming out in October, on October 3rd. It's October 3rd. Mean Girls reference. Okay, sorry. This book is so perfect for fall, for Halloween. It is about a witch and a witch hunter. Fritzy is the witch. She has lost her entire coven. She is a lone witch now. She had to witness the Hexenjägers killing her entire coven, and she knows there is one surviving member of her family, her cousin, so she has to go into the Hexenjägers encampment in prison, pretty much their prison, and try to get her cousin because she doesn't want to leave her sole like family survivor just to the Hexenjägers to be burned. On the other side of that, we do have another character's point of view. His name is Otto. He is the witch hunter, the Hexenjäger, which is witch hunter, witch killer. And he is just like not what it seems because he has his own reasons to be in the Hexenjägers, to be a part of their evil group. And when his sister goes missing, Fritzy is the only one that can help him find his sister. But she's also the person that he is supposed to kill. And what's gonna happen? What goes on between these two? Seriously, enemies to lovers? You're gonna have to read it to find out. I will say I gave this book 3 stars, okay? It's not the best thing ever. It's not my favorite book ever. And witch and witch hunter trope is not really my favorite thing. Ever since I read Serpent and Dove, I did like the first book, but then the rest just went way downhill. And I'm not trying to compare because they're very different, but the witch and the witch hunter thing is the similarity. It's the common factor here. I feel like in this one, it's definitely more focused on the fact that they are 2 different groups, whereas Serpent and Dove is like try and create tension and romance purposely, but in Night of the Witch, that tension is there effortlessly, and that was like my favorite thing. That whenever Fritzy and Otto interact, oh, so many quotes I highlighted. I really loved watching their relationship bloom and develop, and just the way that they felt for each other and began to understand each other. That's like my favorite thing in that book, and that's why I really wanted to give it a higher rating. But the second half of the book goes into kind of something different than what you're getting. It's almost felt like 2 different books. It's very abrupt, the first half and the second half. So that's why I really knocked it down, because I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy when we went into what the second part of the book goes into. So that was a little bit disappointing, but still I recommend it. I still want people to read it. I still think it was such a good witch and witch hunter book. I just hope a lot of people don't rate it low because it is so good and I want people to read it, but that is your choice. Those are the books I read. That was, I think, only 6 books. I think I said 7, but it's actually 6. I miscounted. But let me know down below if you've read any of these, or tell me what was your favorite book that you read in July. If you want to follow any of my social media, it's all linked down below. My TikTok, my Instagram, my Goodreads. If you want to see all my updates in real time, I'm very active on Goodreads. And I also have some ways you can help support my channel down below. I have my Amazon wish list. I have all that stuff. And everything from those links just helps go back into my channel to create better content for you guys. But that is it. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
I know that, baby, I'm never on your mind. And it don't matter how hard we try, 'cause you're never